Now, before we dive into this particular film, India, maybe you can start, and then Fina. How familiar were you with R.L. Stein's, version of Fear Street?
So I remember that like 2021 summer, like when that dropped, the trilogy dropped, it being super exciting and everyone was really invested and loved it and like awaiting the like following films. Because I think I remember they were like released one after the other, kind of a couple of weeks apart. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I remember being really excited by them, and then I sort of like moved away from them. I had my like enjoyment with them for that summer, and then this came along and it was really exciting. I obviously recognized the Fear Street name, and I thought it'd be so exciting to kind of enter the Fear Street universe because it's so brilliant. And but ultimately I knew and loved the trilogy, and it felt so amazing to be a part of it.
I wasn't particularly familiar with the series, the R.L. Stein series, before the movies came out or before working on this project. I did know Goosebumps. I was always a little afraid of them, though. My love for horror didn't really foster until I was in my early teen years, and I could kind of handle it better then. Now I love it, and I can't get enough of it. But at the time when I was a younger child, I far away. But yeah, the trilogy kind of opened up the Fear Street world for me. And I thought it was so cool how it was a trilogy that was filmed at the same time and then released. And so they had this very clear vision for their story. And I was excited to see Sadie Sink in the trilogy as well. We have always kind of been a little intertwined. Her brother and I worked on Broadway together when we were younger, so I've always loved to watch her soar. But yeah, I was excited that this iteration was inspired by one of R.L. Stein's books, because I don't think the trilogy was in the same way based on a specific story. So this was cool.
It's a fresh way to sort of continue the franchise after what the trilogy did. And I was very similar to you in that I was not until my early teens when I started getting into horror. Scooby-Doo was the most for me when I was a child. Now, India, I'd love to come to you next because I can only imagine how intimidating it must be to be the heroine in a horror movie, especially a slasher film. What was sort of going through your head when you first read who Laurie was and started talking with Matt about what your visions were for the character?
I think speaking with Matt about it was important for us to keep her integrity as like a real human-like character in this space where there are so many characters around her or people that she goes to high school with who are like these elevated personalities. Like Tiffany, for example, is this kind of classic mean girl energy that you I find in a lot of those like teen pick films, and I think that's something that he wanted to see in Laurie and Megan's friendship, is that sort of integrity of like real relationships and real friendship and real honesty. So I definitely, it was intimidating, the idea of kind of being, having that journey followed, but Matt made it really easy and communicative. He was very communicative about like her journey and her arc and how she's feeling in those kind of moments of madness.
Well, I think those conversations really turned into a very meaningful character arc in the film. I especially love the friendship, which I will get to later on. But I want to talk about that classic mean girl energy, Fina, because I'm so curious. Some actors find that very freeing and empowering to sort of go to those heights. Others can find it just as intimidating as being the heroine in the movie. What was it like for you, really embodying Tiffany in this movie?
It was truly just quite exciting. I mean, I like to think that I don't share so many similarities with Tiffany. think that makes it easier when you're allowed to kind of have these moments that you don't have in real life and really lean into these outbursts and these that outlandish absurdity she has. And so I remember reading the script and being like, oh, I think I could do something fun with this. And I'm really excited that I got to.
Well, and you nail that energy for sure. And but I'm curious for both of you, you know, that sort of rivalry and animosity goes to some pretty intense, deep places as the movie goes on. What was it like not only finding that dynamic with one another, but also finding that trust in each other as scene partners to allow the other to you know, take it to the level they needed to?
Well, India and I luckily love each other very, very much. Our first day we ever met one another was a rehearsal for one of our dance scenes where we kind of had to force ourselves to make fools of one another and of ourselves. So that kind of opened us up very quickly, and we got very close very fast. And so I think that there's a very fine line between love and hate, and that chemistry can kind of translate when you put us on screen. And because that trust was a great foundation that was already there, there are a lot of scenes where we're supposed to be quite close to one another and being and, you know, I kind of took my liberties with like touching her face.
Yeah.
It just made it even more sickly and
Yeah.
neat. So I'm really grateful that we had established that love so that we could hate one another.
Yeah. And like a similar thing, even as a physical aspect, like I would argue that myself and Fina have like a very like physically affectionate relationship. Like we're always like, we would always be holding on to each other or hugging each other or something like that. And I think that was really helpful in then not feeling like we were crossing any lines when it came to acting like there was this like horrific energy, because like Fina says, there's such a fine line between love and hate. Like it was important to have that base level of closeness in order to get close in a bad way, in a negative space too. Like there's this one moment where Fina has to like touch my like hair, and it feels like weirdly intimate, but that adds to the like grossness and the horrible nature of Tiffany. And I think it's just especially good that we that we love each other. Made it very easy.
That love is definitely felt in the Zoom room, and so I'm glad that you found that with each other throughout production. Now, I see I'm coming close to time, so I have a couple more questions for y'all. India, I'd love to hear about working with Susanna and finding Megan and Laurie's friendship, because it does feel very genuine, that love for each other.
Susie is wonderful. Fina will agree. She's like this fairy elf, like a beautiful little like sprite that you find in a tree. She is like an angel. She's an angel, and we definitely, without even thinking, tapped into the kind of like movement, the waves of how it felt to have a relationship with somebody and a friendship with somebody that you've clearly had for a very long time. You see each other, you mirror each other, you both feel like outcasts, especially Megan. Megan is especially made to feel like an outcast, and I think Laurie admires Megan for that. I think that she finds a lot of like she's very envious of Megan's ability to express herself. So I think that there's a mutual respect there, mutual love there, and it was nice with Susanna to just carry that through the moments where we're, you know, in terror. And I think that because of who she is and because of how there was a lot of ease going into those scenes together. It was so lovely to just present that with her on screen.
I love that description, by the way, of little sprite. That
I hope she doesn't mind me saying that. I love that.
I feel like it's the perfect energy for what I got from the character. So I think it's a great descriptor.